Tiffany here with Years of Years, and it's this day in Disney, June 12th. And today we're starting in 1935 with Walt and Lillian Disney. On this day, they arrived in London, England at the Paddington Station, staying at the Grosvenor House Hotel. And they are on their honeymoon. The thing is, this is 10 years after they were married. So I just thought this was the cutest little tidbit of history that they, Walt was so busy building the Disney company and doing all those things, and Lillian was obviously very patient, maybe more patient than some of us would be, and didn't get a real honeymoon until 10 years after they were married and they got to go to England. So I think it's a wonderful little story and so cute about them. And sometimes when we're building things like the Disneys were building, it takes sacrifice and sacrifice our own personal interests so that we can build something great. And Lillian definitely supported Walt in this. And so I think it's wonderful to see that example. Sometimes we have to set aside things that are fun or we think are really important for something that actually is more lasting. So they're a great example of that. So anyway, next up on this day in Disney, Retta Davidson passes away at the age of 76 in Carisbad, California. So Retta was a really neat lady, a very early female animator for the Disney Company. She is best known as one of the women who were animators for Walt Disney during the golden age of American animation. Right? You could confuse her with Retta Scott, and I'm sure we'll talk about her another time, but also a really popular Disney female animator. And I think it's kind of neat because those are kind of not common names today, Retta, but then they had two Rettas working at the company. It's cute. But right after graduating from high school in 1939, she actually joined the Disney company right away and worked in ink and paint. And she worked on Pinocchio, Bambi, Fantasia, and Sleeping Beauty. Isn't that cool? And that's something that I talk about a lot when, we'll talk about animators or artists who work for the Disney company or Imagineers, and I say, well, they did Bambi, or they directed Bambi, or they did this, but there's also a team of people behind them, and this is a good example of one of the team who makes it so great. She was a true artist who went on to have a great career because she chose to go and work at the Disney company. And during World War II, a lot of the lead animators had to go work at the first motion picture unit. So they were actually drafted to go do that and work for the war effort. And the studios needed more animators. So they asked the ink and paint department to submit their artwork. And she submitted her artwork, of course, and they were being considered for jobs in animation. And she was one of 10 women that were hired at the time. I just think that's really cool. And she worked as an animator for the Disney company until 1966. And then she did freelance work. Really interesting and cool information. In 1978, she worked on The Lord of the Rings, which I love that cartoon version of The Lord of the Rings, and I had no idea that she was one of the animators for it. That's just so cool. And then she worked on The Great Mouse Detective in 1986 and Heavy Metal in 1981. And then she goes back to the Walt Disney Company and actually worked on some of their feature-length films as an animator, The Fox and the Hound and The Black Cauldron. She was a coordinating animator. Really cool and awesome. And I went online and saw some of her specific work. Really, I just think it's so neat that she started right out of high school and had this amazing animation career because she was at the right place doing the stuff she really enjoyed. So she ended up working as a trainer That was her last job for the Disney company. She would train animators until she retired in 1985. So Retta Davidson, go look her up, and I think she's a neat lady. Of course, there's lots of neat people who work for the Disney company, and it's amazing how every day there's something new we can talk about in regards to all the massive amount of people who worked and make Disney what it is today. So I'm grateful and having a lot of fun learning, and I hope you are too, and we'll see you next time.